Two University of Cape Town postgraduates are hoping to change the way youth interact with current affairs. They've launched a talk show which they say takes a feminist approach to news. On the Revulva discusses politics, socioeconomic challenges and labour issues and how these directly affect the everyday lives of the youth on the continent. For more on this discussion, I'm joined by Sarin Drew, a master's student in media, theory and practice at the University of Cape Town. A very good afternoon to you, Sarin, and thank you very much for your time. So, how exactly, and I mean, I know it says it takes a feminist approach, to discussions around current affairs, but how exactly does it do that?
So in my master's thesis, actually, I looked at the feminist political economy approach to media. So how do we transform media away from this patriarchal stance of hard news, facts, and experts coming in for interviews towards more of a feminist point of view? So that's looking at ways of engaging people, looking at their family lives, taking high-level factual news, and kind of allowing engagement that touches the heart and the soul. So in one space, it does that. In another space, it creates wealth. Our show is about creating wealth for the people working on it and creating jobs. And the feminist political economy theory kind of outlines that in a way by looking at wealth and engagement through natural engagement, through igniting the hearts and the minds of people.
Now, Sarin, I hope I'm saying the name of the talk show properly here, on the Revulva. What has been the response to it?
The response has been excellent. We started off with about 1,000 views through a YouTube live broadcast, and it was able to get picked up by Cape Town TV, and it moved to 40,000 views in our first season. So we were quite excited about the feedback and engagement that came from the show.
Now, you're obviously trying to push for youth to engage a bit more, as you've said, and engage by doing so in a more feminist way. Are you finding that that's something that's been lacking over time? Are you seeing perhaps it grow a bit more now? How exactly are you assessing it?
So when it comes to social media, a lot of the times the news feeds that we're getting are either fake news or hard news that comes from normal broadcasters. What we're trying to do is engage youth in these discussions through having, for example, live feedback where we're able to engage with social media comments, allowing our audiences to have kind of a voice when it comes to news and their questions or their opinions. So through that engagement, we're kind of allowing this feedback that we don't usually see in news spaces, and it also is coming from largely youth voices. So that youth-to-youth discussion was a really important aspect for us in engaging youth on certain topics.
Now, I'm sure you would agree that, current affairs, whether it's in South Africa or even globally, is quite depressing. When you think about how there's always news about gender-based violence, there's always news about murders, there's always news about, even politics itself, especially if you look at the American upcoming US elections. How do you then deal with that kind of situation where you try and, I don't want to use the word entice, but I suppose attract youth to continue engaging with current affairs, even though it's not as pleasant to the ear as we've seen it not be?
So I think a lot of what the news does is present a problem and say to society, this is what's going on, these are the relevant problems in society. What our talk show tries to do is not only present a problem, but try and find a solution that not only comes from experts, but also comes from youth thinking critically about the problems happening in society and relevant ways to change that. For example, we had a discussion on how China might be colonizing Africa in a way, and we found a lot of youth having opinions on how to engage with China in a more progressive manner. So it's important not only to present the problem, but to present a solution. And we hope that our show starts to engage youth with that type of discussion.
All right, Sarin, thank you very much for your time. She's Sarin Drew, a master's student in media theory and practice at the University of Cape Town.